In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a boring area in your work look more interesting. Have you ever been faced with a flat expanse of nothingness in one of your paintings? Perhaps it's a beach, maybe it's just some concrete, some path, perhaps it's a large brick wall, or in the case of today's video, an expanse of flat grass. I'm going to give you some strategies here where we can have a little bit of artistic license but still paint what we see and make that area really interesting to the viewer. So for an example today, I'm going to work on this painting I did a couple of weeks ago. There's a full tutorial for this tree with the sky behind, and I'll link to that in the video description. I'll be using Jackman's watercolors, and I did design some colours with them and I do work with them. So if you'd like a discount off of those paints, they're made in the UK, all handmade, and all the colours with my name on are vegan. So if you'd like a discount on those, there'll be one in the video description for you. Now, the paper I'm working on is by Etcher and it is their watercolor block. It's a hot press paper, which is not what I usually choose for a landscape, but it's a very nice paper. So on we go. And we're going to talk first about elements. So I imagined this area here just to be grass. So whenever you've got an area that's really boring and really flat and it's just one thing, we're going to go through a series of design and color things you can think about in order to make the area more interesting. So although I'm doing grass today, this applies if you've got something like a concrete pathway or a flat beach or some brick wall or anything at all that's rather dull. But you want to incorporate those elements in your painting. You don't want to completely change them, but you also don't want them to look really boring. So let's start with the elements. So the first thing I would think about is there anything I can add to this? And it's amazing how small changes will make things a little more interesting. For example, if I were doing a brick wall, I'll put a couple of pictures up that I took when I was out walking, a couple of photographs. You can see that one wall is very plain indeed and very modern. Another wall is older and it's more interesting. It's got pebbles in and things like that. But even on the newer, more modern wall, we have a row of bricks on the top that's a different colour. So we could think about taking those bricks of a different colour and perhaps making a pattern in the wall or something like that. Even just a concrete pathway. You could vary the sizes of the paving slabs. You could add some cracking or some colour variation. We'll talk about colour later. But let's think about what we could add to this. Now, the first thing I could do, even though it's, an expanse of grassland, is I could make the bit near the horizon a little bit of a different colour. I almost feel like there's not perhaps a hill, but just sort of a gentle slope, particularly to this right-hand side. So I'm going to add in, let's put an area perhaps of lighter colour up here. Now for the bottom of the tree, let's move this up a little bit for you. The bottom of the tree, often where trees grow into grass, there's sometimes a little bit of, an area of ground around that might be sort of sandy or just some dried dirt. And so we could make this a little bit of a different colour. So without even thinking about colour or texture, I've already got a couple of elements. So let's think about how we could take this further. Next, let's talk about perspective. So when we've got a flat area like this, we want to take the eye into the picture. You might not necessarily want to add anything major like a fence or a pathway, but we can just use what I call repeating motifs in order to add a bit of perspective. So I've kind of sketched this area of maybe some dirt around here. But what about if I add a smaller amount, perhaps somewhere like this? I could then start getting this idea of leading the eye into the picture, both by making diagonals, but also by thinking about the size of things. So perhaps by my tree, and I'm not going to sketch too much grass here because I'll put that in by eye, but perhaps if the grass by the tree is this height, maybe the grass when we get halfway up will just be this height. And by the time we get up here, the blades of grass will be barely discernible. If it's this height by the tree, maybe it's even bigger over here, and we could even have some more diagonal elements coming in, perhaps from the sides. So often I see people paint an expanse like this, a flat expanse, and they inadvertently make it flatter by doing their grasses exactly the same size. And this applies to everything, whether that's paving slabs or whether that's fence posts. We're looking at using perspective and also just making things more interesting. So let me give you an example. around a fence, for example. So there might be a fence in your picture that might look like this. No perspective on it and rather straight and boring. But look how much more interesting it would be if we made that fence have a little bit of perspective, so we can have things getting bigger as they come towards us. But what about also if it was a little bit broken down and there were some cross pieces here and there? Or, you know, maybe this one here had fallen down a little bit. We make an area that's very boring look suddenly a lot more interesting. So we've started out with adding a few elements. We've progressed on by thinking about perspective and using elements and repeating motifs to lead the eye into the picture. So in a moment, we're going to talk about the next element, which is colour and getting variation, but we're also going to talk about layering. So I'm going to start by painting my Naples yellow. This is Naples Yellow Dark by Jackman's, and I'm going to paint this in the distance. I really love Naples Yellow for little elements of landscape. It's a very good colour for beaches, and it's also a great colour for things like distant wheat fields. It's a rather opaque colour. Now, opaque colours don't always layer extremely well, but to get a pop of colour in the distance in a landscape, I really like it. So first of all, I'm going to paint this in. I'm actually keeping the colour here pretty flat, and that will help to give it a feeling of distance. I'm just painting around the tree elements. I'm also going to pop a little bit of this colour in a moment in the foreground. So this picture is going to be worked in layers, and when you work the same area in several layers of paint, what happens is it makes it look more solid and also more interesting. So what I'm going to do is, in order to connect the front and the back of the picture, I'm actually going to put some yellow in these areas here. As I said, these areas could be sort of dirt, but they also could be sandy. We sometimes get that where I live. So I'm going to add some yellow around here, but I don't want it to have a hard edge. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to wet the area first. So let's start over this side, and we'll just work in small areas. There's a little more pencil on here than I would like, but I'll leave it there so that it enables you to see better. I would be keeping that to a minimum usually, and I'm taking the water further out than the area I'm going to paint. And then I'll go in with fairly thick paint, which will mean that it stops it spreading too far. As soon as the paint gets watery, you'll see it starts to sort of do a starburst effect, which I don't mind a little of, but I don't want to go too crazy with it. And I'm just going to bring this in here like this and add some of these soft yellow tones around the tree and also down here. Before I do the next stage, I'll then allow that to dry. If you're enjoying this video, I'd like to encourage you to press that thumbs up for me. It really makes a big difference to the YouTube algorithm. Of course, I'd love you to subscribe. Everything on this channel is fully approved by CATS. I have over 700 free art videos for you here. And if you need something a little bit more in depth and to study something, some particular subject, whether it's from being a beginner or you want to study something like flowers or landscapes, I also have very highly rated online courses. I'll link those in the video description. So I've got the set of paints here that I was using when I created the tree, which was my essentials set. The yellow I've added here isn't part of that set, but I want to use some colours that I've got in the top. Otherwise, a landscape can seem quite disjointed. So what I want to do next is just sort of knock out this area of white. So we're going to start layering up. Now, the mistake most people make is if they're doing something like this, they'll mix up a green from a blue and a yellow and apply it all over. Or they might use a ready-made green. So I'm going to give you an alternative here, and that's to mix your colour on the paper. So I'm going to add blue and yellow directly to the paper, which sounds kind of scary, but as long as you mix it, you will get green. If you're using a ready-made green, I encourage you to adjust that green by, as you apply it, putting in some yellows or perhaps some blues. If the green is quite bright, then something like a bit of ultramarine or yellow ochre or a warm yellow can really give it a bit of depth. So I'm going to start with my phthalo blue. When it comes to perspective, we want to think about something called aerial perspective. So aerial perspective is not mathematic. It's about things in the distance getting cooler and bluer. Now, again, it's not an exact rule, and you might find a landscape where that is indeed reversed, but it's just something to think of as an option, whereby you can have cooler, lighter colours up near the horizon and warmer, brighter, stronger colours as you come forwards. This is going to give a sense of depth. So I'm using fairly watery paint here and just starting out. I'm adding some diarylide yellow to the phthalo blue that I've started with. And obviously the more of that yellow I add, the warmer the colour will become. When I come down to the yellow parts that I've painted, I'm just going to put a little bit of clean water in those areas just so we maintain them a little bit. Now if the paint runs across like that, you can just lift it out with a clean brush. I think that's washed out a bit too much there, so I'm going to pop a bit of that in. So just adjust things as you go along. I'm going to continue working down with this light wash of colour, leaving gaps around the yellow. This first layer is dry now, and we're going to talk about texture. So we have some drying lines because this is a hot press paper which never quite dries as easily as smoothly. And also we get less texture. I haven't used particularly granulating colours here, so we haven't got much texture on the paper, but there's a couple of ways we can add texture. One thing I'm going to do is work in some grasses with some watercolour pencils. So I've selected 3 here and I've just been scribbling them on this piece of paper. You can see the colours I've got here. I've also made sure that they're fairly sharp, otherwise the line would be quite thick. We want quite thin lines, especially in the distance. I can also start to adjust the colour. I think this is too bright here, so I'm going to put a little bit of a pinkish wash over here, and pink is the opposite colour of green, so that will just start to sort of mute that a little bit. And I'm going to start adding texture. I also want to increase the tonal contrast as I come forward between the light areas and the dark areas. Now, before I turned the camera back on, I did just add a second coat onto these yellow areas, these Naples yellow areas, just because I wanted a bit more strength of colour. You'll see some of these drying lines here. Now, if you're starting to apply a large area like this and you start to get some horrible shapes and lines, all you need to do is spread the paint and make sure it's horizontal. And then even if you do get some lines left, because they're horizontal, they're just going to mimic natural shapes within the landscape. So that's a trick there. If you start getting unwanted shapes, just spread them horizontally. You can always lift out some water by dabbing your brush onto a rag or some paper towel. So I'm going to start in the background here, and again I'm going to go across in sort of horizontal areas. I don't want to make it too dark here, but I do want to just get a little bit of pink over the top, and that will just mute that colour a little bit. We don't want the distance to be too distracting. And if at any time you need to stop, rather than leave a hard edge like that, you can just add some clean water like so. We can also use a damp area like this, whether it's paint or clean water, to get a bit more texture in. So what we can do is get some darker paint and we can just drip some wet paint in, and we'll start to get some areas of texture. I'd be inclined to smooth the bottom of this so that we get an impression of grasses growing upwards. And then by working in with watercolour pencils, we can add to that impression of there being grass in the distance. I'm going to continue working forwards. I'll do these back areas first. You can see how the pink here has just muted the colour. It also helps to tone everything in with the slight sunset effect we've got above. So I've come about halfway down. You see that I went on with these pink colours and some more greens and blues, and I added some lemon yellow here, and I also mixed up this colour here, which is just kind of a make it up as you go along neutral. So I grabbed some ultramarine, some pink and a little bit of the green, and I just got this very sort of bluey grey, and I'm using that to contrast around the tree here, because at the moment there's not really much contrast between this and this, so I want to bring those elements out. I put them in at the beginning. I don't want to lose them, so it's a matter of bringing up the contrast. I'm thinking as well that just before I finish I may put a few little pebbles in these sandy areas, but I'm going to carry on first of all, and again I'm coming down in stripes so that if I need to stop anywhere we get a drying line. It just looks like part of the landscape. So I'm going to go a little bit stronger here, still warm but a less bright than this green here. I want to cover a fairly large area here, so I'll come in with a big brush, just going a little darker here. So some of these areas I'm painting up to may still be wet, but if that happens, all that will happen is that will bleed up and look like grass, so that's fine too. If it starts to look a little bit too hard-edged like this because it has dried, we can just take a damp brush, and you'll see I'm working with 2 brushes. Sometimes it's just easier than keep cleaning your brush. I'm going to come along like this. I'm painting around these lighter areas that I put in at the beginning. I've chosen to go fairly hard edged around those areas. They could easily be done soft. It's just a matter of preference really. I'm taking this, let's take it across the other side here. And I'll also put some of this colour in here up to the edge of the tree. I think it's a bit too pale, that tree, so I may add a little brown in later just to soften that, but nothing major. And just taking some clean water over any areas I don't want to dry just yet. So working on this area here now. Again, I can pop some of those darks in. I don't need too many. They'll naturally spread out in sort of circular shapes. And so if I want it to look more like grass, I'll take a damp brush and just go along the bottom of that line so that the little lines are only spreading upwards and not so much downwards. I can do the same up here as well. Continuing to work in with my watercolor pencils and remembering that the grasses should get bigger as they come forward. You can put in as many or as few as you like. It's important that you sweep upward and outward with grasses so that the pencil stroke naturally gets narrower as it goes to the top, and this will mimic your grass growing. And I'll carry on working until I get to the bottom. So as I came forward, I went a little bit darker at the front. That kind of helps you to go into a picture. Now, one other thing to say about this this straight line across here is I would never do that if there wasn't a tree in the way, because it blocks the perspective, but the tree enables you to skip across that up to the sky. The last thing I'm going to do, I've got a small brush here and I've mixed a little bit of the burnt sienna and the ultramarine just to get a sort of a dark brown, and I stirred in a little bit of that opaque yellow. That's the Naples yellow dark, and what I want to do is just add a little bit of texture to the tree here. So I'm just going to pop some sort of pebbles and things in here. It can be quite effective to use a white for something like this as well. A lot of people are frightened of using white in watercolor paintings, but a single area like a pebble is a great place to do that because the opacity isn't going to affect any of your other colors, and we can just get something a bit more natural going on. And I may do a little bit of splattering as well, but I'll need to mask out the other areas before I do that. And if I'm putting any pebbles in, I'll try and make them larger towards the front. Not looking too natural at the moment. I think I'm going to do a little splattering. I'll put a picture up so you can see how it turned out. But I think already you can see that we're making a very boring area much more interesting. And the principles I've shown you in this video can be applied to any sort of flat area in your painting. So do let me know in the comments what strategies you have for dealing with boring areas, and if any of today's strategies are going to help you in your own work. Before you leave this video, don't forget to have a look in that video description. There's lots of free downloadables down there. There's also some courses you can take. I have paid courses, but I also have free ones. I'll put up another video all about landscapes that I think you'll find really useful right now.